this is Amber, and I wanted to show you a review of 1/3 stories for somebody who's in the United States, because I know this is a European product, and so I just want to give you an idea of my impression of it after using this. And we have two kiddos that are elementary age, so kind of the K through second grade age, and hopefully this is helpful for you. Also, I should mention I'm not being paid for this review or given any free product for it. So these are just my thoughts. First thing I wanted to talk about is when you place the order, there's quite a bit of a delay until you actually receive your first product. So just to give you an idea of that, I placed my order July 5th, which was too late to get a July package because they ship to the United States the first week of the month. So that means that even though I paid at that point, mine didn't ship until August 3rd. And at the point that they ship, it's 2 to 3 weeks until it arrives to us here in the States. And so mine arrived sometime between the 20th and 22nd. I was out of town, so I don't know exactly when. So from July 5th all the way to August 20th, that's quite a bit of a delay in our Amazon Prime world, where we're used to 2 days to receive something after we've paid for it. So just to let you know, there is a bit of a delay. The other thing to know is that they charge on the 15th. So paid for the first one on the 5th. That one shipped out the 3rd. I was charged on the 15th for my September box, which I still haven't received yet. And I hadn't even received my first box at the point where I was already being charged for my second. So just so you know, that's going to happen. It's probably fine, but it kind of took me off guard. So I just want you to know about that. Back to the actual product. It arrives in kind of this corrugated cardboard, and it's fairly thin, kind of like a book, and you can simply open it up. And the first thing that you'll see is the actual book. And the audiobook link for this is actually emailed to you ahead of time, so you can have your kids start listening to the audiobook before you've received the print version of the book. And it's really nice because the people who are reading it, the person who's reading it, can speak the words. This one that we're doing is in Spanish, so he can speak the Spanish words with a great accent. And it sounds a lot better than when I try to do the Spanish words, because I'm not fluent in Spanish and I am not a native speaker. So it's kind of nice to have somebody who sounds so nice and can pronounce the words correctly. So that's a really nice feature. Plus, you don't need to actually know the language that you're introducing to your kids and teaching your kids. I think it would help, but you wouldn't have to know it. So we'll see how far we go with the Spanish, but at some point we might add on with the French too because of that feature. The other thing, though, to know, and this might be a downfall for some people, is that the person who is doing the audio is an English speaker, and I mean as in from Britain. So the accent has a British accent on all of the words that are in English, and that might be fine, but that maybe could also be confusing for some kids if they're not used to that and haven't heard a lot of English speakers, because then you're almost kind of teaching two languages at the same time, or two ways of hearing things. So it's probably good for them to hear that, but just so you know that it is going to be an English speaker, a British speaker, then doing the audiobook. So you can also read it yourself, which is what we do. Like I said, I'm not a native speaker, but I can still read the words on here. And just so you can see what it looks like, the illustrations are really nicely done. It definitely captures the kids' attention. And then the story is well done as well. I really enjoyed the story. It's fun. It adds in a Spanish word every now and then it keeps building on that vocabulary. So it starts with something like zapatos, and then it adds in, hola, me llamo. And so you're bringing in these other words slowly and within the context of the story, which makes sense to the kids because this is the way that they learned English in the first place when we started reading baby books to them, little board books when they were kids. They didn't know what all the words were, but they could piece it together because they knew the context or enough of the other words. So it's a brilliant idea. I really love the idea. I think it works really well. And it just keeps building. So in this story, the dinosaur got his shoes. And so it goes through colors. It goes through counting, so you get counting, and then you get a few different phrases. Things like my name is and hello, goodbye, stuff like that. So you have the book, you have the audio link, and then the next thing in here, I'm just going to loosen everything, are the flashcards. And so this is on cardstock, printed nicely, and this is all perforated. So we have the colors in the English and the Spanish, then phrases, besides the Spanish, and then the English. So you have those two sets of flashcards. And then there's an activity. So in this particular one, this is kind of like a heavy laminated cardstock, and there's two dinosaurs since the story was about a dinosaur. And we can just cut these out, and the girls are just dying to cut these out and put these together. So wanted to wait and do this review, but they really are excited to play with this. And what they can play with it on is this board that has kind of like a prehistoric looking landscape. And then if you can look closely here, you can see the numbers. So you can practice doing the numbers in Spanish and tell them the colors in Spanish, and they can color this in. And then they can play with their dinosaurs on the landscape. So pretty cool idea. Obviously there's only enough resources for one. There's meant to be enough for one kid. I have 2 kids, and so we're going to be able to share dinosaurs, but I could see if you had more that could cause some problems. And the last thing that you get is an activity book. This is a little thicker. I think it's about 8 pages, 8 or 10 pages. Throughout the book, there's just kind of some activities, and it goes through phrases, being able to color. You will notice the English spelling on items, and then the other thing you will notice is, well, this is maybe more pages. The other thing you will notice, though, is, let's see, that doesn't say a height. Here we go, 12 meters. So you're going to see the metric system when it comes to measurements, which is fine. Our kids need to learn it, but of course it's not necessarily as common in the United States. So you will have some features like that kind of remind you that this product is coming from overseas. So just so you know that that's in there. The other thing that I want to mention is it would be nice if you had the option to pay for an extra activity book without buying a whole additional set. Because some of this, like this page, I'm never going to photocopy this page. One, it's a 2-page spread, and there is so much darkness and so much ink on here. I would never use my printer to do this, which also then means that only one kid actually gets to play with the activity book. So I could see this causing some fights. I think it would be nice to either have the option to buy a second activity book or to be able to print off some of these sheets online. So if you're a subscriber, that you have a place where you can go and you can print off activity sheets. I don't even care if they're in all the nice bright colors. I just like to be able to have more than one so each of the kids can be working on it and doing it. So overall, I think it's a really nice system. We definitely like it. The girls like it. They've been able to pick up some of the vocab, and it's easy enough and simple with just a few phrases to be able to start including it in kind of our daily conversations. So that's probably one of the best features, is if it actually gets the kids to start doing the language, then it's fit its purpose. So a few things to note about the shipping delays, and then the fact that the resources are really meant for one child. But if you're okay with those 2 things, or you at least know ahead of time, I still think it's a great product. So worth checking out. Hopefully this review can help you make a decision as to whether or not the 1/3 stories are a good fit for your family. And if you have experience with the 1/3 stories or thoughts on it, please let me know in the comments below, because I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Thanks.